He was the wisest, richest, and most powerful king in biblical history. But his greatest gift became his ultimate curse. This wisest king in history held a secret so dark, it was never meant to be uncovered. For centuries, King Solomon has been remembered as the wisest ruler to ever walk the earth. A man chosen by God, blessed with divine wisdom and entrusted with the construction of the great temple of Jerusalem. But hidden beneath the stories of his greatness is something else, something unsettling. Did King Solomon truly control spirits? Did he hold the key to a power that defied the laws of nature? And if so, what price did he pay? The truth has been buried for centuries, but tonight, we uncover the darkest secret of King Solomon. King Solomon. His name has echoed throughout history as a ruler blessed with wisdom, wealth, and power. For years, Israel prospered under his rule. He was the king everyone admired, the one who had everything: peace, prosperity, a kingdom without equals. However, Solomon's story is not solely one of success. Something far darker was quietly establishing itself beneath the golden exterior of his rule. Solomon was not born with a crown in his hands. God chose him. A young prince, enthroned to follow in the footsteps of his father, King David. The kingdom he inherited was not yet the great empire of legend, but Solomon's vision was far beyond anyone's imagination. At the moment of his rise, God appeared to Solomon in a dream. He offered him anything his heart desired. This divine encounter is recounted in 1 Kings 3:5-14, where God tells Solomon, "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." Instead of wealth or power, Solomon asked for wisdom, and it was granted to him, a wisdom unlike anything the world had ever seen. One of the most famous stories that highlights his wisdom is the case of the two women who came before him. Both claimed to be the mother of the same baby. Solomon proposed to cut the baby in half, knowing that the real mother would immediately offer to give up her claim to save the child. Solomon, knowing her heart, declared her the true mother. "She is the mother. Give her the baby," he said. It is written in Bible verse 1 Kings 3:16-28. This decision not only showcased his wisdom, but solidified his reputation as a fair and just ruler. The fame of Solomon's wisdom spread far beyond Israel, even reaching the Queen of Sheba, who traveled from Arabia to test the king's knowledge and wealth. She brought many difficult questions and marveled at how Solomon answered them all. "The report I heard in my own country about your achievements and your wisdom is true," she said. "But I did not believe what they said until I came and saw with my own eyes." 1 Kings 10:6. She was so impressed by his wisdom and wealth that she gave Solomon even more gifts before returning home. Then, his kingdom flourished, and he constructed the magnificent Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem, a symbol of his devotion to God. In 2 Chronicles 9:22, it states that King Solomon was greater in riches and wisdom than all the other kings of the earth. But beneath the surface, something was changing. Solomon's wisdom didn't just come from his connection with God. It's said that he studied ancient texts, even those considered forbidden. What was the cost of that knowledge? Was there something far darker hiding beneath his reign? His kingdom continued expanding, but rumors of strange, unsettling events began to spread. Was Solomon's success due to more than just divine wisdom? Could this hidden knowledge have been his undoing? But what if Solomon's wisdom wasn't just from God? What if he unlocked something far more dangerous, something hidden from history? Whispers of strange rituals and supernatural powers followed him. Some say he controlled spirits. Others believe he tapped into forbidden knowledge that no man was meant to have. Was this the true reason for his downfall? And what price did he pay for his quest for ultimate wisdom? Stay with us, because what comes next will change everything you thought you knew about King Solomon. So how could a man so wise fall so far? The answer lies in the choices Solomon made later in his life. Choices that would cost him everything. And at the center of these choices were his relationships. Solomon's reign had always been about alliances. He married many women from neighboring kingdoms, forging powerful bonds to protect his kingdom and maintain peace. But these marriages, initially strategic, began to play a far more dangerous role. Solomon's 700 wives and 300 concubines were not just royal alliances. They were doors to foreign gods and corrupt practices. And as these women came from lands where idol worship was common, they brought with them not just their cultures, but their beliefs. God had specifically warned the Israelites not to intermarry with people from these nations, because their hearts would be led astray to worship other gods. Yet Solomon, in his pursuit of alliances and his desire to maintain peace with surrounding nations, ignored this warning. The Bible makes it clear. They were from nations about which the Lord had told the Israelites, "You must not intermarry with them, because they will surely turn your hearts after their gods." 1 Kings 11:2. As Solomon grew older, his heart, once fully devoted to the Lord, began to drift. His foreign wives, who worshipped false gods, led him astray. The Bible tells us, as Solomon grew old, his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God, as the heart of David his father had been. 1 Kings 11:4. Solomon, the wisest man to ever live, began to worship the very gods his father had once condemned: Ashtoreth, Molech, and Chemosh. The damage was not just spiritual, it was political. Solomon began building altars to these false gods on high places throughout the land. Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, and the detestable god of Moab, and for Molech, the detestable god of the Ammonites. This act of disobedience enraged God. God had appeared to Solomon twice during his reign, confirming his favor and wisdom. Yet in his old age, Solomon chose to disobey the very commands he had once lived by. In response, God became angry with Solomon. "Since this is your attitude, and you have not kept my covenant and my decrees, which I commanded you, I will most certainly tear the kingdom away from you and give it to one of your subordinates." 1 Kings 11:11. God's judgment was harsh, but just. Solomon's empire, which had been built on wisdom and prosperity, was now facing a slow unraveling. His own actions were the cause of this destruction, and the once great kingdom of Israel was about to split. God told Solomon that the kingdom would not be torn from him during his lifetime, but it would be taken from his son. And so, as Solomon's heart turned away from God, so too did the favor and blessings he had once enjoyed. What do you think? Share your opinions with us below, and don't forget to hit that like button if you're enjoying the journey so far. By now, we know Solomon as the wisest king who had ever lived, chosen by God and blessed with insight beyond measure. But what if I told you that Solomon's wisdom wasn't just a divine gift, but came with a dangerous price? Think about it. Solomon's fame spread across nations. Kings and queens came from all corners of the earth to sit at his feet and learn from his vast wisdom. But how could one man in such a short time amass such deep knowledge? Could it be that his wisdom had a darker source? The blessings God had so generously given Solomon began to unravel, piece by piece. Biblical references suggest something far more unsettling about Solomon's relationship with wisdom. Could Solomon's wisdom have been entwined with forbidden knowledge? Some believe he may have been engaged in mystical practices, pursuing secret knowledge hidden from ordinary men. In ancient times, there were whispers of Solomon's ability to command spirits and wield supernatural power. In certain texts, Known as the Book of Solomon, there are claims of Solomon possessing occult knowledge. This mysterious book is said to contain instructions on invoking spirits, controlling demons, and mastering the dark arts. Could Solomon, in his ambition, have turned to these forbidden sources to further his reign? In the pursuit of ultimate wisdom, he opened doors that should have remained closed forever. The Bible itself provides a glimpse into this troubling possibility. In 1 Kings 11:7, Solomon built high places to worship Moloch and Chemosh, gods that were detestable to the Lord. These gods weren't just idols, they were associated with dark rituals, including child sacrifice. By engaging in these dark practices, Solomon opened himself to forces he could not control. He had walked away from the God who had granted him his wisdom, and in doing so, he invited chaos into his life and kingdom. The Bible hints at the long-term consequences of Solomon's actions, as his heart became divided and his relationship with God grew increasingly distant. In the midst of all this chaos, Solomon had to reflect on the choices he had made. In his later years, Solomon wrote the book of Ecclesiastes, a collection of reflections that capture his remorse and regret. The man who had once been filled with wisdom now grappled with emptiness and disillusionment. "Meaningless, meaningless," he cried. "Everything is meaningless." Despite all the wisdom and success he had achieved, Solomon couldn't escape the feeling that something was missing. He had gained the world, yet lost the one thing that truly mattered: his connection with God. When Solomon died, the kingdom he had worked so hard to build was no longer whole. The division of Israel into two kingdoms, the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah, was a direct result of Solomon's decisions. What Solomon had once united, his compromises had torn apart. Rehoboam, Solomon's son, faced the challenge of ruling a kingdom that was no longer unified. The 10 northern tribes rejected him, and Israel was divided forever. The once great empire built by Solomon was now two fractured kingdoms, each struggling with its own challenges. The peace and prosperity Solomon had established were gone, replaced by conflict and division. Solomon's story teaches us that wisdom and success are not enough to protect us from the consequences of our choices. He had everything a man could desire, but his divided heart led to the downfall of his kingdom. We are reminded in Proverbs 9:10, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." Solomon's story is a stark reminder that wisdom, no matter how great, can be dangerous when it is not grounded in a reverent relationship with God. But what do you think? Can the pursuit of forbidden knowledge ever be justified? Do you believe Solomon's downfall was inevitable, or could he have turned back? If you've been intrigued by Solomon's dark secret, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on future explorations of biblical mysteries. Remember, true wisdom begins with a heart that seeks the Lord.